get started. Let me just go ahead and share my screen real quick. Can you guys see my screen? Okay, is it
Yes.
the correct one?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Let me just move that to in front of me so I can see. Okay.
Now we don't see it.
Oh, uh, let me do it again. Okay, there?
And then put slideshow.
Okay, perfect.
There you go.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. So the Career Development Center, a little bit about the overview of our services. We do offer career counseling, right? So we have things like career assessments, so if you're exploring career and major, right, we have those assessments for you. We also do job readiness as well. So preparing our students to be job ready, whether that be if you're needing mock interviews, if you need to work on your resume, your cover letter, right, we do all of that here as well. We also coordinate and have a lot of webinars and employer panels. For example, some of our events, like some of our past events, include like networking for introverts or meet the professionals, right? We also have Higher Fresno State. So if you guys are not familiar with Higher Fresno State, it is our online job and internship site, right? So it is only available to Fresno State students, and there are mostly on-campus jobs on there, and then a few off-campus jobs as well. So if you're looking for jobs or internships, highly suggest you guys to check out Higher Fresno State. One of our like bigger events, I would say, is our career and internship fairs. So we do have career fairs every semester. Um, for next semester, our fairs will be on the 4th, March 4th through the 6th, and each of them are a little different. So if you can see here, March 4th will be our Careers in Education Fair. March 5th will be our STEAM, so science, technology, engineering, etc. And then on the 6th will be our Business, Media, Creative Arts, and Health, etc. Right. So even though, let's say you're not an education major, right? Or a liberal studies major, you can still go to the other um, fairs as well, just to see which companies are out there. Like you never know, right? So we highly encourage students to attend all of the fairs if they're available. We do have online resources such as the career assessments and our 24/7 resources, which includes our career development, career success guide. We also have the clothing closet here in our office as well. It is open Monday through Friday from 9 till 5 p.m. But essentially, if you are going to be interviewing for a job or attending a career fair and you don't have professional clothing, we offer that here for free for Fresno State students. So essentially, students can get one or three pieces of professional clothing and one accessory per semester, and it's all free. So definitely feel free to come and check that out as well. And then one of our main services that we do provide for students is our career cafe, which is essentially our front area. We provide snacks and drinks for students who are utilizing our services. So if you need to review your resume or cover letter, it's on a walk-in basis Monday through Friday from 9 till 3 p.m. Okay, so this is our career success guide. Like I mentioned earlier, you can access this on our website on the 24/7 resources. But essentially, we have a lot of really good information in here. One of the more major or main ones would be our resume content, right? So we have like a resume format and template, sample resumes, proverbs, right? All of that in there. We also have cover letters. If you're attending a career fair and you're like, oh, I don't know what to do before, during, and after, we have all of that information in there as well. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and jump into an activity. So this is name the career or name this career. So this is I'm going to give you guys like a little description of it. And then afterwards, if you guys could share what career you guys think it is, right? So this career, the median salary in California is 83,740. And then in Fresno County itself, the median salary is 85,000. So this individual in this career assesses patients' needs through observations, medical records, tests. They develop and implement treatment plans, right, to meet the patient's needs and interests. They also implement interventions to prevent harm to a patient. They engage their patients in activities such as sports, dance, music, etc. They help their patients learn social skills that are needed to become and or remain independent. They also teach patients about different ways to cope with stress, anxiety, or depression. They record and analyze a patient's progress, and they help patients in session to improve their mental and physical well-being. So if you guys could take a minute, if you guys want to reread it, right, look over it again. I know sometimes even though somebody is presenting and they're reading, I need to read it again. Um, but yeah, take a minute to see what career is this? Okay. And by a minute, I mean a little bit. So we're gonna go ahead and move on. So what career is this? So did anyone want to share what their guesses are?
I thought it was a physical therapist.
Business therapist? Okay. Oh,
No,
physical.
physical therapist.
Physical therapist. Sorry, my bad. Yes. Okay. Any other guesses?
There were some in the chat for a counselor,
Mm-hmm.
psychologist, occupational therapist.
Okay. So you guys have a lot of good guesses. So this person is a recreational therapist, right? And if you guys didn't know, here at Fresno State, we do have a Department of Recreation Administration where we do offer a bachelor's degree in rec admin with a therapy emphasis. But yeah, that's just to get you guys thinking, just a little warm up.
And
But
the
we'll go,
sorry, Kaushing.
no, you're good.
And the other reason that we do this exercise is because a lot of times when you start looking at a career, you're thinking, I really want to work with patients, and we only know what we've been exposed to. So
Mhm.
that exposure basically comes from our family members, right? Whatever they're doing. The next exposure is where you grew up, because if you grew up here in Fresno, you're more familiar with let's say agriculture, healthcare, and education. But if you grew up in a place like, let's say, Corcoran, it'd be more like corrections and agriculture, right? So this allows us to basically look at and say, okay, when the number one way that we're exposed to a career path is media. So when we start thinking about, I really want to work with patients, the first thing that comes to mind is working with patients is either being a doctor or a nurse. And the main reason because of that is because that's what you see on TV. You never see anything on prime time about a recreational therapist. Instead, it's always the doctor or the nurse. So even though there's a lot of roles that this person plays identical to that physical therapist or that counselor or the psychiatrist, yeah, they do very similar things but different. So parts of their jobs will be very similar, but others will not be. And so this is to get you an idea to say, just because I want to be to work with, let's say, athletes, doesn't mean I have to become an athletic trainer. I could actually become a recreational therapist and also work with athletes, or I could be a physical therapist. So there's a variety of ideas out there. So that's why we did this exercise.
Thank you, Jody. Okay, so then we are gonna go ahead and jump into the OOH. I did wanted to share with you guys the OOH, the Occupational Outlook handbook. If you guys are not familiar with it, it's basically a website or a resource that you guys can look up the different occupations there are and look at how much they're making, what the environment is like, what the job description is, right? So things like that. So the OOH does have more than 6,500 occupational descriptions, right? And a lot of those, if you really think about it, a lot of the job descriptions now um, did not exist like 10 years ago, right? So, for example, a driverless car engineer, right? Who could ever think that there is going to be an occupation where an engineer will have to essentially engineer a driverless car, right? One of the newer ones, right? Social media influencer, a podcast producer, a telemedicine physician, right? So who here knows what a telemedicine physician does? And you can just unmute yourself.
But just based on telemedicine physician,
Mm-hmm.
it has to deal with maybe like a remote physician,
Mm-hmm.
something about like commuting or technology in that way with combining that with medicine as a physician, like
Yeah.
telecommuting in a way, like telecommuting in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that was right on the dot. Thank you for sharing. And then a drone operator, right? That is one of the newer ones. A cloud architect, so basically a IT professional who is computing strategies. A chief listening officer. What do you guys think this career or this occupation is? A chief listening officer. Any ideas? But yeah, essentially, a chief listening officer is an individual who analyzes like data and um, what is it? They monitor, analyze, and also interpret like customer feedback, so data on a brand or like a company, right? And then the big data scientists and data analytics. All of these are more of the newer ones, right? And if you see the ones with the little asterisk, right, those are ones that, like I said, are a little bit newer, right? So it's essentially like it's a little bit it's kind of amazing and also a little bit crazy at the same time that, a lot of these jobs, they didn't exist just like 10 years ago, which is really recent. But yeah, the OOH, let's see if I can
And
stop.
some of you, and some of you might be thinking a drone operator's been around, but it's always been in like in more the military section. But a drone operator now is in mainstream FAA. So the Federal Aviation actually took control of that, and you actually become licensed through the FAA. And you can there's no degree required for that, and you can make $130,000 a year by being a drone operator. It's crazy.
But yeah, I wanted to show you guys. So basically, you just type up an OOH, and it's the Bureau of Labor Statistics or the Occupational Outlook Handbook, right? But essentially, this is the homepage of the OOH. So, for example, if you were to look up a rec therapist, right? You can see if you click on the one of those first links, you can see, right, summary of what they do, right? So the median pay, how much they get paid, what do they do, right? Work environment, how to become a rec therapist, and these are the different tabs as well, if you want to go more into detail, right? So, okay, what do they do, right? Some of the duties, they assess patients' needs, right? If you're, okay, I want to be a rec therapist, but I don't know what the work environment is like. There's that tab as well, and it tells you, okay, so environments, most of the time you're going to be in hospitals or you're going to work in social assistance, right? And how to become one. So education, right? You need a bachelor's degree in a healthcare field, etc. Right. So this is just a really good resource for you guys to utilize. But let's go back to our presentation. Okay, so DIGS. So DIGS is one of our career assessments that we do have. So it does stands for Discover, Investigate, Engage, and Succeed. Although if you really look at it, it actually like it spells out dies, but that is why we emphasize the G. And I believe Jody did this part, the digs. But yeah, so first you'll start at discover, right? So this is the part where you're gonna try to discover yourself, right? So you want to know what your values are, what you're interested in, what skills you have, right? What your personality is like, and the strengths that you do have. So, the answer, or the question you're trying to answer in this area for the discover is, okay, what makes me unique, right? So once you've discovered yourself, we're going to move into investigate, right? So this is where you're trying to explore, right? This is where you use the occupational, the OOH, right, to do your research. This is where you look up the work environments, right? And the question that you're trying to answer here in the investigate area is, okay, I'm interested in this career. Is it a good fit for me? And then you're going to move into engage, right? So in engage, this is really where you would um, try like put it into action. For example, if you're interested in going back to the rec admin example, if you're interested in that, you're going to try to secure internships that are relevant or are in that field, right? To try to really see if you actually do like the career that you kind of want to pursue, right? You can try to secure volunteering opportunities, right? Do part-time jobs that are within the field, right? So this is where you really put that into action. And then the last one, succeed, right? This is where you essentially know who you are, you know, what you want to do and how to get there, right? So this is where you apply all of that research and exploration that you did, right? So that would be the interviews, the resume, the applying for the job, right? And I did want to emphasize that even though this is like one, two, three, four, right? It's not a one-time thing, right? This is continuous, much like how we are students or growing professionals, right? It is a continuous learning, right? Lifelong. So if you are at this point, right? If you reach this point, it's not going to stop here. It's going to continue. So for example, let's say you've reached the succeed part, right? And you have your career and you're happy with it. But let's say something in life happens, like something really big happens. And now you have to rediscover yourself, right? And then you have to go through the whole circle again. But yeah, just keep that in mind that it is continuous. Okay, so this is our homepage of our website. Um, I wanted to show you guys the I wanted to direct you guys to our website for a little bit. So this is our homepage. If you go to who we serve on the left hand side right here, it will have a drop down box like this. If you click on students, it will take you to this page right here. But essentially, this page has a lot of good information for you to start off with. So if you're like, okay, I just want to do a little exploring on by myself before I meet with a career liaison to help me further, right? This is where you will go. But essentially, we have like little sections, and I like to think of it as little steps for you guys, right? So right here, okay, choose your major, right? So if you're like, okay, I kind of don't know what to do with this major, or I don't have a major and I'm exploring, right? You can go here and it will essentially take you to this page, which directs you back to our DIGS assessment, right? We also have other career assessments, like I mentioned earlier, for example, Focus 2, the Spark Path, right? So we do have career assessments for you guys. Taking a little step back, we also have information on resumes, cover letters, right? If you're at that interview point, right, we have that here as well. Okay. So focus two, and then I'll let Jody cover this part.
All right, so on Focus 2, this looks like a single login, but in actuality, it's not. So when you first go in, you're going to have to create that account. So at the very bottom in that red is going to say create an account. If you notice over on the left-hand side, it says access code is Bulldogs. That basically means the very first question when you create an account, it says Bulldogs. It'll ask you what that access code is. So your access code, Bulldogs. See that cute little need help in the top right-hand corner? If by happen chance you forget, just click that and it'll send me an email. And in that email, all you have to do is say access code to Focus 2. That's it. I don't need a life story. Sometimes I get like a lot of information and I'm just going to reply back Bulldogs. So it's very simple just to say access code to Focus 2. When you fill this out, when you get to the password and confirm password, go ahead and use your Fresno State login just so when you do see that, it looks like a single login, you could utilize it as a single login and then you won't forget about it. But the biggest thing is you don't have to be a Fresno State student to use this. So so once you take it and you're like, hey, I kind of, can my younger sibling do it? Or can my parent who's returning to school or whatever it may be? Yeah, it's perfectly fine. I'm the one that oversees it, and our license actually blankets prospective, past, and current students. So it's all good. And once you go in there and you answer all those questions, you're going to end up with this dashboard. And there's three parts to this dashboard. The very first part is this up at the top. The biggest one that I want, if you do go into here, is Am I Career Ready? Am I Career Ready is really cool because that's the far right one that's in the blue. If you go ahead and click it. So the next one will basically go in one more time, sorry. I'm used to having it. There we go. So basically it has the 8 competencies, and these 8 competencies is through NACE, our National Association of College and Employers. So no matter what career path you're going into, they will want you to have these 8 areas. And the biggest thing about these competencies, these are questions that will go into like a part-time job, a full-time job, an internship, interview. These type of questions would be asked. And also the terminology is going to be asked. So rather than just saying, tell me a time when you had to come up with a solution to a problem, they may say, in an interview, tell me a time when you had to critically think about an issue and how did you resolve it? And sometimes by them using this terminology, it kind of throws you off because you're like, oh, it's something more than just solving a problem. But it really isn't. So they're just utilizing this terminology. But it's really nice because it will tell you where you need to improve upon, where you don't need to improve upon. And it's not going to say, go ahead and take a class. Instead, it's just going to make you become more hyper-focused on things that you're already doing day to day. But you're going to, like for leadership, if your leadership is really low, it's going to say, hey, why don't, when you get into a group, say, I'll be lead, even though it's cringeworthy to do that, but it builds that skill and that opportunity that you could talk about how you've been a leader within groups. Next slide. And then the second part is the actual self-assessment. So these are your VIPs, your values, interests, personality, and skills, and then also leisure. What's really important about this is for interest. If you're not interested in your future career path, you're not going to like it because you're going to be getting ready for work, commuting to work, being at work more than you're going to be doing anything else in your life. So the interest is really important. The other aspect is values. What do you value? If you value income, a lot of times people, like about 95% of students will say, I value income. So therefore, that means you're going to be looking at career paths that will automatically give you that nice income from the beginning, not something that you have to work up to or something that you can never work up to. There are certain careers that you're basically going to be paid no matter how far or how long you're in there, basically a couple of dollars over minimum wage your entire career. So that's something to think about. That's why you want to come and talk to us. And this is why you also want to research. The other thing is personality. Personality is how we deal around the environment around us. So when you look at personality, we act differently around our parents than we do our friends. We act differently around our friends than we do like in a school setting versus a church setting, right? So depending on our environment, we change. And so this is actually when you're answering these, there's a one or the other. It's a 2 choice. And what's really nice about this is sometimes they're both like, wow, they're kind of both very, very similar to me. Choose the one that's most. If they're both like, ew, choose the lesser evil of the 2. And at the end, it's basically going to let you know why you want to work, your core purpose of working. And then leisure, what you do for fun, and then skills. But when you're answering the skills, make sure you're answering about what you really enjoy doing. I mean, I'm skilled at certain things that I do not like doing at all. Like I could organize, but if you saw my office right now, you'd be like, yeah, no way. I like to organize, but do I take the time to organize? Not so much because it's not something I enjoy doing as much. And so really think about, do I enjoy doing this skill path? The biggest thing is when you're taking a self-assessment, this is either to choose a major, to choose an option within that major, to choose the right career path for you, because about every 5 months to 6 months, you should be going back to this and reevaluating. There's a lot of change between the ages of 18 and 24. A lot of changes. About every 6 months, you're you're evolving and you're changing, you're learning new things. The biggest thing, your values typically stay very consistent, but everything else kind of gets shifted around. After the age of 24, it's about every 5 years. So it's a huge jump between those two. But ultimately, what I would say is take advantage of this, because this could also, even later on in your senior year, taking a career assessment will help you actually answer questions in an interview better. Why should we hire you? Things like that. What type of skills are you bringing to the table? All of those type of questions could be answered by taking a self-assessment. And then the last part, at the end, you could compare, like, what can I do with this majoring? You could compare by job family. You could also compare by explore any occupation. What's really nice is they have a occupation side by side. So if you've been like, what's the difference between sociology and anthropology? You can compare them side by side. What's the difference between civil engineering and electrical engineering? They'll go side by side. And that will give you an idea, is this the correct path for you? And then at the end, the biggest thing is you could do the summary report. So it has all the information there. If you come in and talk to one of us, we will go through that with you and walk you through it. And it's just a lot of problem solving. But that's the biggest thing that we really enjoy doing here, is the problem solving. When you actually go in and start exploring, at the end of each one, you can look at the occupations that match those results. So this is for the interest. So I'm social, enterprising, and artistic. So with that, it gives me an idea of the different areas, the majors that work here at Fresno State that we have. And then also on the right-hand side, that job family. So it says like community and social service on a couple of those. That will allow you to say, okay, well, let me just look at that job family as a whole on the other page, or I could save that occupation along the way. If you click it again, if you go into another area, there might be like something that we don't have, like aeronautical aerospace engineering. We don't have that, but most of the positions that go into that field, you're going to need a master's. But that doesn't mean you have to leave Fresno State. Instead, it says, okay, well, you can major in math, mechanical engineering, or physics. And then if you click on it, what's really nice, it gives you all the information. It gives you the training, the job task, the work interest profile. Is there going to be jobs in the future? The earnings, the interest profile, the one on the right-hand side, one's like a burgundy color, and the other one is that teal green color. So you would be that burgundy color, and it shows, okay, I'm pretty high up on the social part. So I'm pretty close to the 75 mark, but to be this is kind of on the low side. That might mean that I get bored with this type of position. Now, if the green is higher than me, that basically means, you know what, there's a learning curve. If all of it is a learning curve, that's not so great. But under artistic and conventional, those two middle ones, that's perfectly fine to be around that way. Nothing's going to be equal straight across the board.
Okay. So we'll jump into how do we usually think about careers, right? So essentially, a lot of us, we think, okay, our whatever we major in is going to be very linear, right? It's going to go straight into our career. And that is not really the case, right? So our major is here at the bottom and career is everywhere, right? So for example, you can major in, I don't know, psychology, right? And maybe you can take a straight shot to become a behavioral tech, a applied behavioral tech, right? Or, you could be a psychologist or a psychology major and you get here and you're like, oh, well, never mind. I'm not going to be that, right? So it is, there's going to be a lot of different things in your life that kind of intersects and it might take you in a different direction. But it's always important to keep in mind that your major, it won't really be your career. It will be that stepping stone to open the door to the different options in the different careers that you can go into. So here are our 24/7 resources. You can access this on our website. Usually I just help students to type in Fresno State CDC or Creative Development Center, and the first link you click, it'll take you to our website. But yeah, some of our 24/7 resources, the one that I wanted to focus on today was what can I do with this major or degree? So essentially, if you click on the link on our website, it'll take you to what can I do with this major, right? So this resource is very helpful, right? Because it has different categories that you can choose from. So for example, if you were an a liberal arts or liberal studies major, you can look into education and then you can explore further. Okay, because I'm a liberal studies major, what can I do with this, right? Or if you were in business or science, right? So there are different categories here for you to explore. So the example for today. So let's say you were a math major, right? And you went into what can I do with this major? So math, I think math would be under, oh, right here. Right. So let's say you went under that category and you clicked on math, right? A lot of there, so it's gonna pop up similar to this, but not exactly, but it will show you the different areas that you can go into with a math major, the employers that will, or employers or companies that employ these areas, and the different strategies that you can start working on, right? So let's say, okay, you are a math major and you want to go into research, right? Who are the employers that will hire you, right? So federal governments, right? So the National Security Agency or engineering firms, right? So these are the employers that will hire you. And then let's say, okay, you're not interested in research. If you're a math major wanting to go into education or teaching, right? The employers that are going to hire you are going to be public and private K through 12 or universities, right? And then in order to teach at a university, right? These are the strategies that you need, right? So for example, you need to earn a doctoral degree, not for to teach in public K through 12, but for university and colleges, right? Or let's say you're a math major interested in going into programming, right? The different employers that would be hiring you are retailers or computer service companies, right? And then the last one, okay, math major, I want to go into insurance, right? The employers that are going to hire you are going to be insurance carriers, professional and scientific and technical consulting firms, right? Or government agencies. But this is just a resource for you guys to utilize and to explore. But yeah, more areas. And Jody, was there anything else you wanted to add?
The biggest thing, the reason that we chose mathematics is because a lot of times if someone says I'm a math major, the very first thing that you think is very linear, meaning I'm going to be a math teacher or a mathematician. And there's so many other areas that that degree just basically gives you that foundation. So that's why this is really important, because sometimes students will say, I'm not really happy with the major I'm currently in. And it's because you're thinking very linear. So going to the site before you even change your major, you might find that that major will allow you to do what you want to do before you start jumping around and changing majors around. Other times, this will also, if you're just still undeclared, or even if you're near the end and you're saying, okay, what can I do with my major? Because I need to find a career path. This is a good opportunity just to see a variety of things. Because if you go here first to what can I do with this major, and then you attend, like, let's say one of our career fairs, then you have an idea. Okay, well, there's insurance companies that's here. There's department of, or the city ofs are going to be here. So then you kind of get an idea and a game plan of these are the places I want to stop by and talk to them, so I know, is there opportunities down the road? Is there opportunities to job shadow? Is there opportunities to do an internship or even career base? So this gives you a really good foundation when you are thinking about choosing that major or career. Just a good starting point.
Okay, so going back to what I said earlier about major, right? What we think about our major and career, it usually is very linear, which it isn't. And how should you think about careers, right? So you think of it in the perspective that, okay, my major is going to lead me to numerous opportunities. Again, it's not a straight shot, right? For example, I was a psychology major, and now I am striving to become a Student affairs professional. But yeah, so there's a lot of different opportunities within your major, right? It's not, again, it's not a straight shot. So a lot of students, their plan essentially consists of, okay, let me go to classes, right? And then sometime, maybe sophomore or junior year, I will maybe secure an internship. After that, let me earn my degree and graduate. And then boom, I'm gonna have a great career, right? But in reality, it's not really like that, right? So there's gonna be ups and down, bumps. The first one is like rocks, right? You're gonna go through a bunch of different things, right? And it will, like I said, it's not gonna be like a straight shot, right? You're gonna struggle, you're gonna go through different changes. You're gonna have to rediscover yourself about things that you're interested in, right? And then you'll get to the end, which is the great career, right? So we do have like a little step-by-step plan for to assist you guys in choosing your career, right? So one of the first things is to meet with your career liaison or your career counselor here at the Career Development Center. Take an assessment, right? For example, the focus two that Jody went over, that one is really helpful. I took it, and a lot of the occupations, they were very similar to what I wanted to, or what I'm trying to do right now, right? Um, and then investigate, right? Explore to see if you actually like it, right? Having those career conversations with different individuals in your life, right? Gain experience. Again, exploring, trying it out to see if you actually like it, right? So we have a lot of different resources here on campus for you guys as students, right? So join a club, look at the different ones. Maybe you're interested in the veterinarian club or the like the engineering clubs, right? And a lot of those clubs, they do like a lot of events for students. For example, some of them, like the engineering ones, they hold a panel, right, where they bring in alumni who speaks about the career that they're in and how they get there. Or they take students to, or the club members to a conference, right? Professional development, right? We also have, opportunities for you to look for part-time jobs, right? So Hire Fresno State, definitely utilize that. Again, like I mentioned earlier, it is our website where you search for on-campus and off-campus jobs. And definitely also consider volunteer. If you guys are not familiar with the Jan and Bud Richer Center here on campus, they essentially have different programs and companies that they kind of partnered with. So every semester, I believe they have a volunteer fair, right? And it's usually out front in front of the bookstore, but essentially a lot of the companies they come out and they talk about the volunteer opportunities that they have for students. Um, Something that you also want to do is talk to your professors, right? A lot of your professors, for example, I have a professor that is a marriage and family therapist. If I wanted to be a marriage and family therapist, I would connect with my professor, right? Talk to alumni. And this is where LinkedIn comes in, right? If you don't have a LinkedIn, make sure you create one. And much like your resume, your LinkedIn is an ongoing thing, right? So you continuously add to it. And LinkedIn is a great platform for you to connect to Fresno State alumni in the career that you want to go into. Reach out to them, connect, ask them questions. Connect with your peers, right? A lot of students here at Fresno State, they're really right? They get very involved. So you never know, like your classmate in class might be the president of a club on campus, right? And that's how you can connect. And then attend events here on campus or off campus to increase your knowledge about the career that you want to go into. So, for example, at the Career Development Center, we have a lot of events, the career fairs, right? That is one of our major events. Like I mentioned earlier, networking with for introverts, right? Or meeting the professionals. That is where you get to meet with the different professionals in different careers and just essentially network with them. But you have a lot of resources here at Fresno State, right? Utilize them, right? Reach out. And then that will then essentially lead you to knowing your career, right? So it's just the little steps in between. And then also start building your career competencies throughout this step-by-step plan, right? So make sure you are working on professionally communicating, right? Make sure you are working on teamwork. And you can do that in your classes, right? Your class projects, your presentations, right? Make sure you are building your leadership and your professionalism as well. But these are just things that you want to keep in mind to work on while you are exploring your career. Okay, and then a lot of times we tend to think of failure and success as opposites, right? They don't mesh, but in reality, they are interconnected, right? Failure is a part of success, and I really do like to think of it as if I don't try something and not be afraid of making mistakes, then I can't grow and I can't learn, right? Because if I don't make the mistake, how do I learn, right? So just embrace the failures because essentially they will cause you to learn and grow. And then career success. I know a lot of us have different definitions of what career success means to us. But as defined by Forbes in the career success in 2020, right, it is a combination of things. So, for example, being able to be financially stable. And a big part of it, at least for me, is enjoying the work you do, right? And then also being happy and fulfilled with your life and career choices, right? It's really important to recognize that, just career success doesn't mean that, like, it's just not about the money and title. Like, that doesn't make up all of it. If I'm making this amount of money and I'm not struggling financially, but I'm not happy in the job that I'm at, for me, that's not what I consider career success, right? So it's essentially a balance of being happy, being financially stable, and just having a well-rounded experience. Jody, did you want to add anything else to this part?
The biggest reason that this is on here is ultimately students will say the number one reason of a value is a good income. And the think about anybody like on the weekends, any family members. Sometimes you make really good money, but you still hate your job. So
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, because you're going to be working so much longer than any other generation, if you're right now between the ages of 18 and 22, you're going to be working into your 80s. The main reason why is because guess what? You're living longer. The 18, 19-year-olds right now, the life expectancy is going to be triple digits. You're going to live into the 100. So that means you're not
Mm-hmm.
retiring at 60. You're not retiring at 70. You're going to be retiring closer to 80. That's a lot of years to be working and hating your job. So the biggest
Mm-hmm.
thing is you have to have something that you really feel proud about, but also it's enjoyable. And the thing also about careers will also determine who your friends are, where you live, what you do on vacations. Are you vacationing at Pisma? Or are you vacationing in Europe? Right. So all of these things play a role in your overall happiness, but the job itself has to be satisfying, and that's why it's
Mm-hmm.
so important to do those job shadowing and having those career conversations.
Mm-hmm. And I have a really good example for this about not enjoying one's job. So right now I'm at the Creative Development Center, as you all know, but I used to work for Teaching Fellows where I would assist teaching students and instructing them in math, English, right, whichever subject they are struggling in. But as much as I enjoy interacting with the students, I just wasn't happy with the job just because of how drained I was feeling at the end of it. And it wasn't even like a full-time job. It was a part-time job. So it was like 3 hours a day, right, for 5 days of the week. But I didn't enjoy it. And how did I know I didn't enjoy it? Every day that I woke up, I was like, oh, I want to quit this job. So I just wanted to give you guys that example because being satisfied with your job is really like a big part of it. Okay, so this is the iceberg illusion. So a lot of people they see success as, oh my God, this amazing thing, which it is amazing. But this is just all that people see, right? It's the tip of the iceberg. What they don't see is all the struggles and all the hard work that you have to go through, right? All the emotions and the challenges. For example, fear, joy, right? If you're feeling what is it called? Incompetent at your workplace, or what is that? Imposter syndrome. There you go. You're feeling imposter syndrome. They don't see any of that, right? But I just wanted to point this out that, they don't see this and this success, this pretty thing is all that they see. But, it's important to value what you're doing, right? And see that, okay, I did really work hard for this. But yeah, anything else to add to this, Jody?
And also the iceberg illusion is basically only 10% is what's being shown. The
Mhm.
90% is underwater. This is a lot of the things that Kaoshing's been saying is go talk to people, go and go job shadow. That could be very scary for an introvert.
Mhm.
Kaoshing and I are both very, very introverted. And so when you start thinking about that, this just remember that when you go talk to a professional, they may seem very successful in your eyes,
Mhm.
but as soon as you start talking to them, you're going to see how many similarities that you have with this person when they were your age or when they were in the place that you're currently at within your schooling. And so a lot of times if you start changing your mind frame to think about it this way, it's not as scary to go job shadow, and it's not as scary to contact somebody and say, hey, can we go and meet up to have a career conversation?
Okay, and then moving on to talk about our career liaisons. If you guys didn't know, here at the Career Development Center, we have 6 different career liaisons according to whichever college you fall under, right? So Jody, who is here with us today, she is the career liaison to the Kremen School of Education and Undeclared. And then another example, Daniel, he is our career liaison to the Laos College of Engineering and the College of Science and Mathematics. And the reason why we just wanted to share this with you is because when you do come in to make an appointment here at the office, we usually, or our student assistants up front, usually ask you, okay, like, what's your major? Or what school do you fall under? So that we can schedule you with the correct career liaison. And they do specify in the college that you fall under. Mhm. So just a little reminder that whatever you post lives forever, right? So always make sure you stay professional at all times, right? So for social media, you don't think about it. And I didn't think about it until my professor made us do an activity where we searched each other up, right? But employers do actually search you guys up, right, to see what you guys are putting out, what other people's perspective is of you, right? So just make sure you are very professional. If you're not, make sure to private it. Um, and then email addresses. Not a lot of students think about this, but students that come like freshmen, when they come into Fresno State, they have to create their email address, right? A lot of them just put like a funny name, right? Which sometimes may not be the most professional, but they don't really think about it. And at that age, you don't really think about it. But the email address, as far as I know, you can't change it. And it kind of stays with you forever, right? So for example, if you are now a junior or a sophomore and you're working as a student assistant on campus and you're emailing people to collaborate, the first thing they'll see is your email address, right? So you just want to make sure that that is very professional. Same thing with your voicemail, right? So let's say you're applying for jobs and you've interviewed and you're waiting for the employer to call you back. And they did call you back, but let's say you were busy for some reason and you can't pick up, and all they hear is you pretending like you're answering the phone call or you using profanity or something like that, right? So just making sure that we are being mindful of being professional in all aspects of our life. So this is our calendar of events. I know we are already in November, but we do have a lot of events that are not on here on our website. Again, just type in Fresno State CDC or the Career Development Center, and it will usually be on the right-hand side. Let me actually go to it and show you guys. So for example, I would just type in Fresno State CDC and then the first link, usually. If you click on it, this will be our homepage. But upcoming events, it'll be on the right-hand side. If you want to see more, just click see more events. And then these are the ones that we have that are coming up, right? So in tomorrow. Tomorrow we have the Careers one, which will be a virtual career fair. We also have the Caltrans one hosted by the office in the Laos College of Engineering, right? So just a lot of good upcoming events for you to utilize. Make sure you check this once in a while, right? Because like I mentioned, earlier in the presentation, we do have a lot of professional development events. For example, networking with introverts, meeting professionals, right? Um, so yeah, oh, right here, networking for introverts, right? So just something for you guys to check out. But going back to my presentation.
And just, you know, you don't have to
Um,
stay there, Kaushing, but
mhm,
all of our events, any student could go to it. So if you're a
mhm,
freshman or if you're a senior, feel free to attend any of our events. It's open to all.
mhm. But yeah, so to end up, or to close up the presentation, we are located in the University Student Room 306. If you don't know where that is, we are 2 floors above the bowling alley. We do have our career cafe, which I went over from 9 till 3, and then our office hours. But yeah, that will be it. Do you guys have any questions for Jody and myself?
I have a question. So let's say like a freshman is entering Fresno State undecided. What time frame do you think they should start really like focusing and deciding on what major to choose? Like, would that be second year, third year? Or I think Fresno State, do they make you choose by your second year?
They make you choose after you get 60 units. So after the 60 units,
Um,
so when you come in as undeclared, your academic advisors is the University Advising Center over in Joyle 224. They will push you to start thinking about a major during your freshman year. Typically, when I see them, because I'm the liaison for them, usually if I see them in their very first semester, I've been seeing those students right now. I'm telling them, chill out, do it over the winter break. You know, just as long as you're following a path of general education, you're good. Typically, I would say by your second year here, so you're starting your third semester, you should have a good indicator of this is the area I really want to go into. The main reason why is because Fresno State has a limit of how many units you could take. So it's 154. After you reach that, they will say this is the major you're going to be. You don't want to get to that point. Instead, you really want to have those opportunities to say every major here is an opportunity for me.
Thank you. Any other questions? Let me see if there's any questions in the chat. Okay. Well, then, if there's no questions, thank you, Kaosheng and Jody, for joining us today. This was very informative. I'm sure we all learned a lot, and we're all kind of freaking out inside too about like whether we chose the right major and career path, but this was also very reassuring at the same time. So thank you guys. And if you have not yet, please put your name into chat so that way we could take attendance and add that to your learning activity. But if there are no questions, please feel free to leave as well. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. All right. I'll just end the meeting. Bye, everyone.